Alright, the very last thing we're going to look at, which is a pretty important part of HMI development, is security/permissions. There are times when you do not want everybody to be able to change everything on an HMI. Sometimes you want to reserve a screen only for more technical personnel than the simple operator. So in this lecture, we're going to look at setting up a security profile for our blower demo HMI project, and we're also going to test it all the way through. So the first thing we want to do is look at user management. When we look at our project navigator pane on the left, if we scroll all the way down here in the system folder, we find users and groups. And we're going to go ahead and start with a new user. So we're going to right click, new user, and the username will be Paul. And I'll go ahead and set a really difficult password of Paul, P-A-U-L. I'll confirm it, and I just created a new user. And now I need for that user to be a part of a group. So I'm going to right click under groups, select user group, and we'll call this group bosses. I'm going to go ahead and add a member, show users only, and that's going to be Paul. So I am now the only member of the group bosses. And that's really all we need to do under users, to add a person and to add a group that's going to be managed under a security profile. The next thing we want to do is come up here near the top of our Project Explorer, and we're going to go into Runtime Security. And here's where you set up different permissions for different groups of users. So you see we have security codes A through P, and down here we have a default user. So right now, anytime the HMI is open, there doesn't require a sign-in or anything like that. It's just one user group, the default, and that person has all access to everything. Well, right now we're going to go ahead and disable security code A from the default account. So let's go ahead and accept that change, and then we're going to add another account, and we're going to call that the boss's account. And that one is going to have all the same permissions as the default, indicated by all these Y's under here. And it's also going to have access to security code A. So anything that we assign the security code A to, the default user will not be able to access, but anyone in the group bosses will be able to access. So let's go ahead and close this and save changes. And now we need something to use to demonstrate this security lockout. So we're going to go to displays, and we're going to create a new display. And we're going to make this a very simple display. We're just going to go ahead and put a text box here. And put a very important message in that text box, which will let us know that we've made it to the page. I think that'll be an obvious confirmation. And we're going to need to get to this page and get back from this page. So I'm just going to put a return to display button down here. And we'll go ahead and make that a nice gray with the label return. So what that button is going to do is send us back to wherever we came from. So whatever page sent us here, if we click on this, it should send us right back. I'm just making it a little prettier. There we go. Now, I'm going to right click on this page and select Display Settings, and you see right here I have security code with an asterisk, which means it doesn't have a security code assigned to it, and I'm going to assign the A. So now this whole page is security code A. We're going to close it, save it, and we're going to save it as test page. Now let's go back into our main, and I've added a login and logout. I've also added this string display properties, which is associated with the system tag user. And other than that, these don't require any configuration whatsoever. If you go up to Objects and Advanced, you can drop a login, a logout, a password change, any of these things right from the menu. All you have to do is draw it on the screen and walk away. It's that simple to configure. And then we need a button that's going to take us into our page that we just created. So I'm going to use this Go to Display button here. We're going to set that up, and we're going to point it to the display we just created, which is Test Page. And we're going to go ahead and make this button pretty just like we did the other one. We're going to give it a caption of Test. Let's make that bold, 16-point, black font. That looks great. And let's go ahead and test this. So we click on our Running Man after we save this, and we wait. And there's our OpenHMI. We can see that everything's online and working normally. We've got our little alarms built in and everything. And right now, it shows that we're logged in as the default user, which means really nobody's logged in. And when we try to go to the test page, we get this system-generated error message. Very hard to read up here, but it says access is denied. So it's not letting us go in. Current logged in user does not have security access to test page. So we're going to click on login. Then we're going to click into user, and the user is of course Paul. Hit enter. We're going to click on password. Our handy dandy password is also Paul. Hit enter. And then we're going to hit enter again from here, and we see that the logged in user changed to Paul. So now we should be able to go into our test page like a boss. And when we return, all we have to do is click log out. We're back to our default user, and we are locked out of our test page once again. So that is all there is to managing permissions. It's worth noting that in some HMI development programs, you can not only limit access to entire pages, but you can also limit access to specific controls. So you can have an entire page full of things that anybody can access, and just one button or 2 or 3 inputs that only a technician can use. That just depends on, again, what type of program you're using to create your HMI. But when it gets down to it, setting up who has access, logins, passwords, and associating those security codes with each different control or page is really the same. It's the same concept, just different implementations across different platforms. But as far as concepts go along the road to understanding PLC and HMI, that's a pretty easy one.